Okay, we're going to go on and get started. I was waiting for an introduction, like everyone else got. So I was just going to congratulate you. So.
Not at all. Well, first of all, I'm sorry we're running a little bit behind, but when you operate with people who move through space, time becomes less linear. But, so, brief conversation about the planet. It seems to me it would be irresponsible if we're talking about building worlds that we don't take a minute to talk about the climate change crisis and the planet. Here are three incredible thinkers that have dedicated their lives to thinking about the blue marble pit, the dot. Two of our fellows here, amazing, both Latimer fellows. Dr. Ashikin Henry, thank you. He's our faculty sponsor here, helped us to lock down our facility. He's inventing battery technology that could be transformational. Just closed $20 million to keep his vision alive. Well done. Our astronaut friend, Dr. Sian Proctor, she is a poet, she's an artist, she's a geology professor, but she's also a kid. She's kid. Hello? And then, of course, this is our man who looks way out into the future. He is the man who ran the James Webb Telescope program, which was pretty much a busted NASA project that he got back on track. And if it weren't for his work, we wouldn't have nearly as much knowledge about what's happening in the universe. Very, very special. Thank you for joining. He's also on the board of Black & Veatch, which happens to be a partner and a sponsor of the Latimer program. So thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, John. And thanks to your team. I love your shirt. The NASA plug there. So we're going to talk a little bit about this great universe, but more so our place in it and how we can sustain it and build more capacity. So as we show this launch of Webb, it'll show us, we're trying to look at our place in the universe. Where did we come from? Someone talked about looking at how fast light travels. We're trying to look at the past and how that informs our present and the future. So if you could play that first video. French Guiana, we actually launched on Christmas morning 2021. Doing the final integration on top of the rocket. Final encapsulation. We're rolling out to the pad on December 23rd, beginning of rainy season. And what a Christmas morning it was.
And we have engine start. And liftoff.
Décollage.
Decollage, liftoff from a tropical rainforest to the edge of time itself. James Webb begins a voyage back to the birth of the universe.
Last time we'll see our baby. After separated, going to its spot in space.
James Webb Space Telescope, amidst applause here in the Mission Control Center, now taking its first steps in pursuit of cosmological discovery.
Thank you. So this will inform us a lot about our universe, where we came from, our place in it. It will also tell us if we're alone or not in this universe, and hopefully even in our own solar system. But then we start to look closer to home. We're not going to show it today, but when you get a chance, look at Carl Sagan, the pale blue dot. And he says that blue dot, Earth, that's from the Voyager launch, 50 years ago. And he said, this is all we have. It's that blue dot. That's our Earth. And of course, Cyan has been into space. She's looked back and seen that blue dot. She has a lot of passion around it. As you heard, Ajay is building technologies, doing research around energy storage, energy transfer. And we think about how do we use technologies, just like we built Webb, to make our lives better, to sustain our planet, to build capacity, and capacity especially in our communities. So with that said, we're going to skip the pale blue dot, the second video, and we're going to go to Cyan, if you can tell us a little bit about you and some of your passions.
Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm Dr. Cyan Proctor, and I basically had been chasing space my entire life. And I was almost a NASA astronaut. In 2009, I tried out for the NASA astronaut selection process. I got down to the yes/no phone call, and it was a heartbreaking no. And sometimes you think those dreams have slipped away, but then the combination of, I think, opportunity, technology, and a global pandemic aligned for me to be part of inspiration for the first all-civilian mission to orbit. And so during the pandemic, I became a space artist and a poet, not knowing that 9 months later, I can't make this up, that I would win a Twitter contest to space for 3 days. And yep, I wrote a poem about the need for a just, equitable, diverse, and inclusive space for all of humanity, or a Jedi space. And as a result of that poem, I ended up training for 6 months to be the mission pilot on Inspiration 4, the first all-civilian mission to orbit. And I became the first woman commercial spaceship pilot, and so far the only African-American woman to be a mission pilot. But what I discovered for myself while I was up there was a new term, looking back at our amazing planet. When I was floating in this beautiful cupola bubble looking at the Earth, I realized that I was being bathed in Earth light. All the light on my face is Earth light. We know about sunlight, we know about moonlight, but nobody talks about the amazing light that is Earth light. And that's the Earth's unique planetary signature. Life would not exist if it wasn't for our planet taking sunlight and literally transforming it into Earth light. And so since going to space in 2021, my mission has been to bring Earth light down to Earth.
Thank you. Thank you. So Ajay, tell us a little bit about yourself and some of your research and how you see that playing into this future discussion we heard this morning.
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Segun Henry. I'm a professor in mechanical engineering here at MIT. I have, research-wise, I would say my research group's mission is to work on any and everything we think will move the needle on climate change. I'll give you a bit of background on why in a second, but I founded a company called Fourth Power that is pursuing an energy storage technology that we developed in my lab over the last 12 or so years. And speaking to this point about, I think the future of the planet, I kind of pride myself on being truthful and honest and straightforward with people, and the future is not good. When it comes to climate, our survival on this planet is very much threatened. It's the only planet we have, and when you kind of work in the area that I do, you start to really appreciate how fragile life is, how fragile our entire ecosystem is, and how important it is that we act and develop the technologies, deploy the technologies that will give us a fighting chance at actually continuing to exist on this planet for many eons to come. So that's my one comment. Sorry to be bleak, but I don't like to sugarcoat, because the reality is that it's not a good situation, and the federal government we have in place right now is doing the opposite of helping.
Okay, thank you, Ajay. So I heard so much great stuff this morning. I was telling them in the back I could drop the mic and walk away and never say a word. It was just amazing. So some of the themes this morning were around action, building a plan. Also, we heard themes around new technologies, around AI, ecosystems, the Silicon Valley ecosystem. So, Cyan, if you look at the future for us, starting today, when we walk out of this room, how do you see us, what are some of the first steps in building that plan for the future? How do we tie in the ecosystem of like a Silicon Valley, where you have funding and finance, and you have marketeering, you have people who know the whole system, that whole ecosystem to support that? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, being a geoscientist and an astronaut, there is no better planet than planet Earth, and our stewardship of it. From my perspective, people always ask me, why are we going out into space when we have wicked problems here on Earth? And I have to constantly remind people that solving for space is solving for Earth, particularly human space flight. In order for humanity to go and live on the moon and Mars, we have to be incredibly efficient. We have to be efficient in food, water, energy resources, waste management, all of the things that we need to thrive here on our planet. And as we push humanity into the extreme possibilities of creating that Jedi space, of boldly going together. If you're a Star Trek fan, Jedi space, Star Wars acronym, Star Trek meaning, to boldly go together. If we can solve those problems, that all of that innovation and all of that technology and all of that knowledge is created here, and it gets spun off in ways that you can't even imagine. When we hold a cell phone, when we have GPS, when we're navigating and communicating using satellite technology, that's all space exploration. And it's a part of our everyday lives, but we don't realize that. And so for me, in order for us to be successful, we really have to continue to push the envelope of space exploration, and particularly both robotic and human exploration. We talk about quantum computing and AI. Talk about a tremendous amount of energy that is used, that is contributing to the climate problem. But if we can move those data centers off planet, and we are crunching those numbers on either the moon or in satellites and stuff, this is important problems that we need to figure out if we're going to be more sustainable. So I think a plan around how you can use solving problems for space can be turned into really solving problems for Earth.
So I like that answer. So Ajay, as a technologist, someone concerned about our sustainability in the universe, on this planet, how do we take technologies, everything she mentioned requires some kind of other technology to provide that technology. I think about every time we launch a satellite, right? These hazardous hypergalls that are part of our propulsion systems, they're poisoning the planet, right? Every time we hop in a vehicle, that Uber, it's convenient, a lot of technology went into that, we're poisoning the planet. And you can go on and on and on. How do we build these technologies that make our lives better, easier, and also harness the sustainability of our planet? And how do we accelerate that? But there are so many technologies we built on Webb, on many other satellites, many other parts of our systems. how do we accelerate that to save the planet and also accelerate our niceties in life?
Yeah, I don't know that those two, I think those two things may be mutually exclusive.
I'm gonna ask the audience if they would agree with you later on.
I mean, so I mean, I'm an engineer, and so I look at problems and we try to optimize against many variables, right? And you try to pick out which variables have the strongest impact on your final result, right? And at the end of the day, I think there are certain variables that make the problem way harder than it would be without them. You know, so for example, to the extent that you take as a boundary condition that solving climate change has to happen within the current capitalist economic system, you've placed a constraint on how it is that you can move a technology from an idea on a PowerPoint slide to being deployed in the field. Because somewhere along that way, it has to turn into a profitable business. And that constraint is like a chokehold, because the reality is, like, if you just took the sum total of all the ideas that exist in scientists and engineers' minds today, we actually have all the ideas necessary to solve the problem. But that economic engine as the transfer function to be able to get from where we are with ideas to actual implementation is the big cog in the wheel. It's just so that's kind of the way we try to think about it, is how do I turn the ideas we have into actual functioning and successful businesses that can then solve the problem, because nobody's going to solve climate change by charity.
So when I took over Webb, the team used to tell me, well, we can't solve a particular technical challenge without costing all of this money.
Yeah.
We were spending at $1.5 million a day at the time, right? And I said, time is money.
Yeah.
And they couldn't connect those dots. So they don't have to be separate. You can do both, and of course schedule is really important. So for the audience, do you agree with him that we cannot sustain our planet, create new technologies to make our lives better, and at the same time have a good economy? Do you agree with that? Any thoughts? I wish we had our AI board up here so people could show us what they're thinking. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think it's an important point that you made, although it's hard for things the sustainability of the project to continue without having some kind of economic engine to keep it moving forward. Right? Regardless of whatever system that we have, is capitalism or whatever that we choose, we all have this self-interest, and self-interest can be good or bad. But the self-interest will drive this level of, let's push for these technologies to do X, Y, Z. Therefore, having this economic engine, self-interest, saying, we need to make money, but is this money to be strictly for profit, or is it to help push these innovations forward? And that's a choice that we make. But I think it's hard to separate the two. You need this technology.
So I'm gonna play a little bit. I keep hearing lots of ors, right? Are there any ands in there, Cyan?
Well, I lived in space for 3 days, and money, I managed to eat, drink, survive and thrive without any money involved while I was living there. And I think about Star Trek, and who are Star Trek fans here? And I think about the fact that there was never exchanges of money happening. What is, can we come up with a new way of thinking about this? And this is another reason why solving for space is solving for Earth. If we actually go and put a settlement on the moon, how are they going to function? Are they voting? Is there money? Is there commerce? Can we think about a new way of operating? And as a result, again, bring these new ideas and these new ways of existing back to Earth. And I think that space provides an opportunity to rethink the way we operate. And if we're willing to, put that idea of a Jedi space, just, equitable, diverse, and inclusive space for all of humanity, forward as we go to the moon and Mars and beyond, that we could learn a lot of ways of living and thriving that we just have not had in existence here yet.
I like that one too. I like yours also. I don't want to be exclusive here. So, Ajay, in your technical world of energy, and I don't want to be too specific, but I'll try. So if we talk, I think Reggie mentioned, or someone, Project 2050 or 2030, you pick your time frame.
Yeah.
From an energy standpoint, which is a big deal in our climate, you're king for the day. What does energy look like in 20 years, 2050? And what are one or two of your starting points to make it happen?
What does energy look like in 2050?
King for the day, though.
I'm king for the day, so I get to wave a magic wand and.
All these evil people y'all are talking about, you can do something with them too.
Yep, yeah. I'm a Thanos, snap all of them out of existence. So that's first order of business. But energy in 2050, I would say, is a fully renewable grid. It is electrified industry and electrified transportation with what right now would seem like an unbelievably large amount of energy storage and other storage-like assets on the grid to be able to enable it all. It would be approximately, I think what's maybe most jarring about what I'm trying to say is if I tell you the price tag to get there, right? Like the price tag, this is a...
Guys keep coming with this money stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's real, right? Like, I mean, this is a multi-$100 trillion problem. It's not a $1 trillion problem. It's not even a $10 trillion problem.
You're the king, though.
I'm the king.
We may have one soon, so you're the king today, though.
I'm a Thanos, snap hundreds of trillions of dollars into my hands. But even then, I mean, I'm writing a paper now to try to clarify this for people because I do not think the majority of the world appreciates the scale of what it is we're talking about. And so with regards to energy storage, just one domain, this is just one piece of the problem. With just energy storage itself, we ran some computation to calculate how much energy storage do you need to actually decarbonize the entire grid. It's on the order of like hundreds of terawatt hours. I don't know if people appreciate how big that is, but like 1 gigawatt hour scale battery, that's about the scale of the largest batteries on the planet right now. It's the size of multiple football fields. So even if the batteries were free, it's a large construction project. And we're talking about making 100,000 of those in the next 25 years. That means you have to build more than 10 every single day for the next 25 years straight. The scale and the rollout is it's not something we're currently prepared for. And so that's where we have to get to.
Well, can I ask a question in that? So in that model, where did space play a role? Because when we're talking about just the scale you're talking about in consumable resources of materials on Earth is tremendous. And this whole idea of again, can we get resources off planet and then we return those resources back to the planet in a way that makes it more sustainable. And then as you're talking about this data storage, energy storage, again, the consumption of energy as it increases through our digital technology, quantum computing, AI, all of that, we still have to do a problem. We have to deal with that problem too, right? The increased need of feeding our energy demand. And if we move that off planet, how does that help because of the impact of that on climate? And so I just want to ask, in these modelings, are we thinking about solving for space as a way of solving for that challenge on Earth?
I would say not generally. I'm not aware of anyone in my field that thinks that way. The problem on Earth is hard enough.
But the solution could be by solving for space.
It could be.
Because if you think about it, what is the best energy system for the moon? It hasn't been developed yet, but maybe it's a technology that would be able to be spun off and be more efficient here on Earth.
If I could leave everyone today with one main conclusive statement I'd like to make, I think all of this is true. The issue I don't think people appreciate is the time. Mm-hmm. We literally have run out of time. there's
Yeah.
not enough time to make a new technology and get it deployed. Like we are limited with what we have now, and the time scale it takes to even get it out there fast enough is so long that that's one of the constraints we're up against now.
No, I
So
definitely agree.
I really want to push it, and I have a push for both of you. However, I'm going to let the audience push a little bit, or help a little bit. Yes, sir. And then I'll come up there, I think. We can hear you. Just speak up.
Appreciate what you were saying about off-planet. Not that I'm a fan at all of Elon Musk, but what he's talking about is, I think, literally cloud computing, like putting data on data processing on satellites, which kind of changes the whole kind of heat and cooling equation, which affects energy consumption, things like that. What I'm wondering, Ashigun, is anyone working backwards from what is necessarily required in terms of time frames to help us to understand what the parameters of the solution are? So if we have till 2050 or 2040 or whatever, and we work backwards, and there's only a certain amount of construction, whatever possible, to frame it as, however many a day, 1,000 a day for next year, is not a. If we use technologies and approaches that get us to that, then we will definitely work ourselves into a corner. But is there a challenge that can be brought by the scientific community to say, if we can hit these kinds of parameters, we really do have a fighting chance. So let's start innovating and designing things that solve for those constraints.
Yeah, if I can comment on that, I would say yes and no. There is one part of the problem that does already exist, which is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So there's an international organization, team of scientists, thousands of them, that work worldwide to characterize how bad it is. And so we are clear about that. What hasn't happened, and what I actually interestingly call for in this paper that I'm actually trying to write now, is that what we're missing is a corresponding intergovernmental panel on climate solutions to actually put together the plan and adequately resource executing it. Those are the two key pieces. Like we're pretty clear on what the problem is and how bad it is. And that should continue. What we haven't done is move from the recognition that the problem exists to actually formulating a solution and executing the plan to actually, solve it.
Thought I saw a hand up here somewhere. No. Here. Up top and over here.
All right, I've got one. My name is Bakari Brown. I'm with Memory for Education, and thinking about all planetary resources, there's been a lot of the news about periodic atlas, origin, potential possibilities, and one thing that we seem to know for sure is that on October 3rd, it's going to make it past by Mars, and I'm interested in knowing, what do you think that we will definitively find out or discover or uncover on that particular day?
I'm lost on that one. We're going to talk about that over a drink later on. As long as it's strong. Almost a hypergol kind of strong.
My name is Ainsley Burroughs. I'm a poet and artist. And the issue of climate change I've been hearing about it since I was in college. Like, we need to do this, we need to know this, and every time it goes further and further. And I think that we keep thinking about these issues in terms of like technological issues, but I think they're more moral, ethical, and spiritual issues where we have to fix the human instead of trying to fix the technology to solve the problems the humans cause. So I think we need to deploy education, poetry, music, the arts as a tools to help to fix the human part that's preventing us from taking the action that we all see is necessary.
So,
Yeah.
Can I comment on that?
So, Cyan, he makes a great point. Are we hiding behind resources, time, and other things, or do we just not have the will to move forward?
No, well, I think that it's a combination of both. I think that you're absolutely right. That when it comes to human consumption of resources, it's a prime problem. And when you look at ways of operating in the world and how we take resources like energy for granted, then you are setting yourself up for failure to some extent, because human consumption is just continuing to grow around the demand for more and more resources. But I think that there is hope through storytelling and poetry and the framing of the use of technology around the story and why, and aiming for ways of operating differently. This is one of the reasons why I want to bring Earthlight down to earth. When you look at what sparked the environmental movement of the 1970s was the Earthrise photo. It was taken Christmas Day, 1969, and Apollo 8, was it 69? No, 1968, Apollo 8. On Christmas Day, that image of the Earth, we hadn't seen it, and it wasn't on the NASA's manifest to take that photo. Bill Anders looked out the window and said, "Oh my gosh, hand me the camera." And when that image went around the world, it literally sparked the environmental movement. And because it gave us a new way of seeing our planet and the fragility of it, similar to the pale blue dot. And when I think about being up in low Earth orbit and being bathed in Earth light, the energy coming off of our planet, sunlight that's been transformed, but not just that, the energy of life and human activity is part of Earthlight, and maybe something as simple as defining a term that's not part of people's vocabulary. How many of you have heard of Earthlight before today? Raise your hand, right? That term, nobody knows it, but we have a moment to define that term on a level of knowledge as sunlight and moonlight to people, where they hear this term Earthlight and they feel a connection to our planet that will hopefully make them see the world around them in a way that is more like connected to themselves and life, and wanting to be more environmentally cognizant of their actions.
So as we think about space, I'll come back to you. Mining in space, there's some goods and bads. Perhaps AI can help us figure that out, right? Run a lot of simulations there. And when we think mining today, we think the moon, right? And what do we get there? How much? What are the implications over long-term mining on the moon? Are there other planetary bodies? And when we talk about mass, the cost of mass to space, pretty expensive. It takes a while. We talk about data centers in space. There's a lot of crunching up there. Until we get quantum communications, it doesn't matter. You can't get the data back. So you crunch it in space, you can't do anything with it. Yeah. There's so many bright minds in this room and our whole ecosystem. Are there other ways we should be thinking about this? Is there a technology we're not even thinking about today? We're stuck in the past, right? I don't have the answers. I have a lot of questions. Are there things that we're missing? Are there things that we should be thinking about differently, whether it's the economic piece, where we do these things, how we do these things, the types of materials, even mining lithium all over the world for many years, and all of the waste? There are downsides to that. As we go more electric vehicles and there's a downside to it, right? Instead of oil and coal, it's that. And then our grandkids have to deal with that problem. Are we thinking about this whole thing the wrong way, and is there another way to think about it? That's my challenge to the audience and to you guys. And lastly, and I'll give you one more time and you one more time, what is your, and this is a 30-second answer, your first step in that 2050 plan, not just energy, but to change the calculus from everything we heard this morning, and then your 30-second first step. start here?
Mine is simple. My goal is for every human on the planet to understand the significance of the term Earthlight and cause that shift in their perspective of and their connection to that term, and hopefully the way they operate here on our planet by defining it in a way that makes them feel more connected to our planet.
Thank you.
It's a great question. There's so much I want to say, but
30 seconds.
30-second version. I think my biggest first step right now is to try and convince the students of today, the next generation, that the problem, although it's not sexy, the problem is not with technology, but with policy. Policy is by far the biggest lever we have to try and save ourselves. And I think although technology is very sexy and you can make a great career out of it and get notoriety, the real biggest impact is if we can change policy. And I think we have to innovate on our ability to change policy. And it's a very non-obvious problem to solve.
It's just send those politicians to space. Send them to the
I had to
ISS
crash in
for
there. I had
6
to
months.
crash in there because it's quite overwhelming. Thank you. That was an incredible discussion. And speaking of policy, when we talk about education in a few minutes, policy innovation is part of the conversation. So, really looking forward to that.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Appreciate you.